Boro blow a 3-goal lead in a collapse that even typical Boro would be proud of. What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Project Boro reviewing show, where we look back at every single Boro game here on the channel, and I continue to be absolutely speechless by this Boro team and our ability to throw points into the fire, give up leads, concede goals, and just piss results up the wall. I mean, we've seen some absolutely incredible moments of self-sabotage this season, and I could go through them. We've all seen them. We've all been there. Watford away, blown a 1-goal lead with 15 minutes to go, having the chance to go 4-1 up at Norwich, end up drawing 3-3. There's loads of examples, but this one I think takes the absolute biscuit, because Boro produced, I'm not going to jump around it, one of the best first half performances I think we've had all season, in a first half that had us purring. We were just in awe. We were speechless. We were just absolutely soaking up what was an unbelievable first half. And then we go and follow it up with a collapse unlike any I've seen in my memory, to be honest with you. Throwing away a 3-goal lead, conceding 3 goals in 15 minutes, getting a man sent off, you name it. It was all there. Everything you could ask for on a typical Boro bingo card was there. Even by our standards, this was something. I honestly have no words, and we're going to get right into all the goals. We're going to get into the game management. We're going to get into the fallout. There's a lot of emotion, I would say, heading towards Carrick at the moment, and just what this means for Boro and where we're at, because the brutal matter of the fact is, we've now conceded 10 goals in the last 5 games, and we've scored 3 in each of our last 2 and failed to win either of them. And the defensive issues, the in-game management issues, the soft underbelly, the weakness of this Boro team, our inability to grind teams out, how soft we are, there's loads of words you could use. All of them are really showing themselves now, and it's getting a little bit worrying as to where Boro are at and our ability or inability to get results when we should, and just how much this might end up costing us come the end of the season. But let's get into it, starting with the lineup, which I was really happy with, to be honest. I thought it was a great lineup. Obviously, there were some absentees that must have been enforced through injury. No Edmondson in the entire squad. Ayling was missing too, as was Johnny Howson. So, Saul Bryn was in goal once again. Dieng, another one, nowhere to be seen. The back four, though, I thought was good. You know, we're not going to have anyone other than Borges and Dijksteel at either wing-back position or full-back position at the moment, but I was quite intrigued to see how Dale Fry and Rav Vandenberg would get on. You know, another different combination at centre-back for Boro this season, but one I was really intrigued to see the look of. Obviously, with Howson out the team and Aidan Morris still injured, Hackney and Barlasser were the only 2 we could go with in the midfield. And then the attacking 3, obviously, whenever Dork and Azaz are in the side, it always proves to be a positive for Boro, but Bergzorg was chosen over McGree, which I thought was the right decision. The only one that I was a little bit surprised by was Tommy Conway starting over Latty Lath, who was benched once again. Don't know if that's a tactical thing or it's something to do with the noise that keeps sort of popping up around his future and his gobshite of an agent. But regardless, Conway started and Boro started incredibly well. And I know, obviously, the reaction and the outcome of the result and what it happened, how it all came to be, is going to mask over the majority of this result, but we cannot forget how great of a first half this was. It was an absolutely scintillating first half from Boro, and the best way I can sort of sum this up, first half, everything good about Boro under Michael Carrick. Everything that when it clicks, we looked great, played great football, the passing, the moving was excellent, the football was beautiful, and the goals we crafted were absolutely outstanding. And you look at the first half, it's exactly why you look at Boro under Carrick and you go, this is why they could be, and I say could, I emphasise could be, a top side in this division. The second half was the exact reason as to why we won't be. First half, clinical, control, brilliant. Second half, carnage, chaos, self-sabotage, and just complete collapse. So we must take each as to what they were, and the first half was brilliant from Boro. We were up after only 5 minutes, a goal from Ben Duck. This was beautifully crafted down the left-hand side. Hackney playing a great part in the midfield. Got down the line to Tommy Conway, who held it up brilliantly. Slotted in Azaz, who played a beautiful cross into the box. Ben Duck free at the back post with a diving header. 5 minutes in, Boro 1-0 up. And given how poorly we've started games recently, this was absolutely perfect. 1-0 up, straight away. 10 minutes later, we were 2-0 up. And it was another beautiful goal. This time it was crafted down the left-hand side between Borges and Bergzorg. And I will say, something I really, really like is the balance between Bergzorg and Borges. I think it's much better than McGree and Borges, because what seems to work better compared to what we've done previously is we often have the left-sided attacker coming inside, allowing the left-back to overlap. But as we've seen, that leaves the left-back being so exposed, often doubled upon, tripled upon, down our left-hand side, going the other way, and it just leaves our left side gaping and exposed to be counter-attacked. So what I really liked is that Borges played more of an inverted left-back role, which we've seen in recent weeks, and I think going forward at least, it's working a lot better because it allows Bergzorg to hold the width and do what he does best, and that's pick the ball up on the touchline, get chalk on his boots, and drive at the opposition's fullback. It just seems like it's a much, much better balance, and we saw that work here. Bergzorg slots in Borges, who plays a beautiful ball into Azaz, who slots it perfectly into the far corner. 2-0 up after 15 minutes. Cruise control, you could say. And just when you thought it couldn't get any better, another 15 minutes pass by. Azaz makes it 3-0 on the half hour. This one was a little bit more scrappy, but the build-up, excellent once again. Great play through the midfield this time. Dan Barlasser playing it in to Lath. He plays it out to Azaz, who worked brilliantly just in that right-hand half space. As we often see, he slots in Ben Duck, who takes on the full-back he's doubled up on, puts a cross into the box. It bobbles around a little bit, falls to Finn Azaz, who, with great composure, sort of toe pokes it past the goalkeeper. Half an hour in, 3 goals up. It couldn't be any better from Boro. And you think, surely, 3-0 up, not even the most typical of Boro could possibly throw this away. Oh boy, we could not predict or foresee what was to come. And to be fair, there were some bits that Sheffield Wednesday did really well, and I'll give them all their credit, especially Danny Roll, when we talk about the second half, because as much as Boro's collapse was an absolute atrocity, what they did in response, Sheffield Wednesday, was absolutely brilliant, and it shows why Danny Roll is such a great coach. But there were warning shots prior to the half-time break that this might happen. Wednesday had a couple of opportunities, one from a corner that was flicked on at the near post. Windass had a header back post completely free, misses the target. If he gets it on target, it's a certain goal. Marvin Johnson also had a shot from the left-hand side that was just wide of the post. But Boro got away with them 2 chances, went in 3-0 at half-time, and you think to yourself, all we got to do is manage the game. All we got to do, because you'd anticipate, you'd expect a response from Sheffield Wednesday, you'd expect them to come out firing, and the first 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes or so of the second half are absolutely crucial. You just have to weather an early storm, and the one big do not do is give away an early goal in that first 15 minutes. You think, don't give them anything. Come out second half, be switched on, be aware of what they're doing, clear your lines, manage the game, take no risks, get through that first 15 minutes. And if you can get to an hour, 3-0 up still, you'd fancy yourselves to have weathered that initial storm and you see out the game. But as we've talked about so often when it comes to this Boro team, our inability to manage games is a real problem. And we've seen this under Carrick many times. It's a bad habit that this Boro team simply can't rid themselves of. We are so susceptible to a 10-15 minute period of just absolute madness. We've seen it so many times. We just seem to have these spells where we just lose our heads, lose our bearing, and let the game get away from us. And instead of getting through the first 15 minutes, weathering the momentum and the response from Sheffield Wednesday and not conceding, we actually conceded 3. And not only did we concede 3, we also had a man sent off as well to compound what was an absolutely shocking 15-minute spell from Boro after the second half started. I mean, there's just no excuse for how much we just absolutely lost our heads in that 15-minute spelling. We talk about game management, and we talk about the top sides, and we talk about what Boro are lacking, and this is what the top teams do not do. You know, they adjust, they manage, they recognise the danger, and they get through these tough spells, they weather the storm, and they find a way of getting a result. And for Boro to piss away a 3-goal advantage at home, not only in the second half, but in 15 minutes, it's absolutely inexcusable. I've never seen anything like it. But it wasn't, as I say, just down to Boro making stupid decisions in really key moments and just losing their heads. Danny Rowell also was proactive. He made some tactical tweaks and they worked an absolute treat, because what they did in the second half, which is something they didn't do in the first, and it's something I thought they'd do when I was discussing this in my preview, they brought on Chalobah. He was sitting in front of the back four. They seemed to switch to a 4-1-4-1. He brought Chalobah on. He looked after Finazaz, who obviously is the key that connects our midfield and attack and our midfield to our wingers. That shut down Finazaz, and they also focused on attacking Boro's full-backs, which is something we've saw is such a big weakness of Boro's. Leeds took advantage of it, scored 3. Plymouth took advantage of it, scored 3. Sheffield Wednesday took advantage of it and scored 3. And it was glaring to see them tactical tweaks paid dividends for Sheffield Wednesday. But even then, and you've got to, commend the response. For Sheffield Wednesday to come out 3-0 down, I don't know what they were told half-time, but they come out. The resilience and the character for them to get back into the game is commendable. The tactical tweaks by Danny Rowell were absolutely outstanding. But in equal measure, Boro's defence and game management was an absolute disgrace. And Carrick's come in for a lot of stick for it, and I get that completely. But a lot of this has got to be on the players. I mean, I don't know what Carrick can do in such a short period of time. If we'd have pissed this across, a full period of a second half where we'd conceded 3 goals from start to finish, then yeah, you can say Carrick had plenty of time to react. But Boro threw this away so quickly. The players have got to take responsibility for this. How they were able to just completely lose their minds and concede really poor goals. I mean, Carrick, after 3-1, absolutely, there can be calls from the touchline to just calm things down, clear your lines, just keep solid, keep your shape, don't do anything stupid. So I think in equal measure, although Carrick will get a lot of stick, absolutely, the players have to take a huge degree of responsibility for what happened here. And it started instantly. 47 minutes, Ingleson gets Sheffield Wednesday right back into the game. They play the ball down the right-hand side really well. Borges loses out. I think it might have been Gassama initially, who's allowed to carry the ball 15, 20, 25, 30, 35 yards. He's surrounded by Boro players, but nobody engages. And you can see exactly what's about to happen right in front of you. Slots it in down the right-hand side. I don't know if it was Shea Charles who was in the right-hand channel. I think it might have been him. He got 2 assists today. He crossed the ball in and it finds its way to Ingleson. And to be fair, I think it might have been getting saved by Sol Bryn, but Dijksteel, in an attempt to block the shot, gets in the way and ends up deflecting it away from his goalkeeper into the back of the net. And they've got themselves one back. Even then, though, you think, let's not panic. We expect a response. They've got an early goal. Their tails are up. What we need to do is shut up shop for the next 10 minutes. Manage the game. Don't give them anything. It's what the top teams all have. We've discussed it endlessly. That in-game savviness, that streetwise side of a team who, when they know they're on the ropes, they make the game scrappy. They go down, they waste time, they fake an injury. I know as a football fan you hate it when it goes against you, but there's certain things, the dark arts you could call them, that teams do just to halt the momentum of another team. We had it. I think we had it last week when we played Plymouth. Even though it was a legitimate injury to their winger, I can't recall who it was now, that stopped Boro's momentum. Just by having that little prolonged period where there was a stoppage, there was a substitute, and even though that was true and it was enforced, there are things you can do in a game which just stop the momentum of the opposition, because they were right up after this. But Boro didn't. We played it in their hands and we just allowed more mistakes, attacks just continue coming our way time and time again. And only 7 minutes later, they got themselves 3-2. It was down Borough's right-hand side this time. I think one of their players runs off of Ben Doak, who doesn't react to the run. Might have been Windass. That means Hackney has to come out and try and make a tackle. He goes into a 50-50, loses out. They maintain possession. A cross is played in. Annoyingly, it ricochets off one or two players. Can't have been Windass, actually, because he's the one who scores. But neither way, the cross comes in. It bounces up, hits Borges, hits Windass. He doesn't even know anything about it. And it just bobbles past Solbryn into the corner. And you just think to yourself, what on earth is going on? Just absolute chaos at the back from a Boro point of view. And it's 3-2. And you think, right, a bit like the Plymouth game, you've had one warning, you've had two warnings. Like last week when they kept going ahead. You think, surely, right, they've scored one, they've scored two. Now's the time. Please, for the love of God, just shut up shop, Boro, and just take the sting out the game. But no, we allow Sheffield Wednesday to just keep continually to come at us time and time again. Wasn't helped 1 minute later. Rav van den Berg got himself sent off. This was harsh, in my opinion. I don't know if it was Shea Charles. I can't recall if it was Valerie. Might have been Valerie who shakes off a number of Boro players. Shakes off Borges and Barlasser. Rav steps across. Minimal, if any, contact, to be honest. There were fouls in this game that were far worse, that didn't get a booking for anything. But because he was on a booking, I don't know if the referee felt obliged to. Rav barely touched him. And it ends up being a second yellow card. I think it's very soft. I think it's a really, really poor decision from the referee. But regardless of it being a harsh red card, it didn't change the swing of the game. Boro had already conceded 2 goals at this point. We were already absolutely all over the place. We were already an absolute mess at this point. So it's no excuse for the result being what the result was. And then on 60 minutes, our goalkeeper gets injured. And it come from another Sheffield Wednesday attack once again, all over Boro. I think Windass has a shot that's deflected. Solbryn makes a save. I don't think it hit the post. It comes out to one of their players who absolutely skies his rebound. That should have been 3-3. But in the motion of making the save, Solbryn dislocated his shoulder. He then goes off injured. So at this point, Conway had gone off injured first half with a hamstring. Solbryn had gone off injured with a dislocated shoulder. Third choice goalkeeper, Tom Glover, comes on in his place. Straight from the goal kick, from the chance that had just happened, he gives it straight to one of their right-sided players who drives forward and wins the corner. From the resulting corner, they go 3 each. Valerie with a header at the near post. He's got Lath in front of him. He's got Barlasser behind him. Somehow he manages to get a flick on and it goes all the way through into the back post, and Boro's 3-goal advantage is gone within 15 minutes. 15 minutes of utter carnage. And as I say, huge credit to Sheffield Wednesday for their reaction, but they just got a tiny lick of a chance, a bit of momentum, a tiny opportunity, a glimmer, and they absolutely took advantage of it. The tactical tweaks by Roll were absolutely fantastic. It took our best players out of the game, but there is no excuse for Boro's absolute collapse in them 15 minutes, getting a man sent off, getting a goalkeeper going off injured. I mean, if there was ever a series of typical Boro events in them 15 minutes, it was summed up right there. And I guess the only positive you can try and swindle out of this absolute mess was that after Boro went down to 10 men, we were fairly okay. I don't think we were ever under it as much. We had the odd opportunity ourselves going the other way. I think Isaiah Jones had a great chance in the second half. They didn't have all that much. They didn't test Tom Glover. So we kept the scoreline at 3-3, but I'm not taking that as a positive. Just like last week against Plymouth, when people were taking positives out of the fact we come from a goal down 3 times. For me, due to our terrible defending, we should never have been in that position to have to come from behind 3 times. It's the same here. I don't care if Boro held on for the final half an hour at 3-3 with 10 men. Should never, ever have been in that position at all. It was criminal that Boro let this one slip. And, there's a lot of talk coming out and a lot of crap towards Michael Carrick. And, I'm not reacting as I guess, as urgently and as dramatically as others are who are calling for his head, this, that and the other. But there are certain tendencies to this Boro team that I thought we'd gotten through. I thought we'd solved. I thought we'd improved in some areas. And I thought we'd gotten better defensively. But this feels like a complete regression to where we were before. And quite frankly, a team cannot be scoring 3 goals in a game at home and finding a way to not win. It's criminal, to be honest. And we've talked about it time and time again. Boro, great footballing side. On our day, can beat anybody. Absolutely fantastic, and we're great to watch. But we're so soft. We are unbelievably soft. We have a soft underbelly. We just don't have the ability to dig deep, find a way to win, grind out a result. We're just so susceptible to this happening, and it's happened way too often this season. I mentioned Watford, I mentioned Norwich. Too many times do we constantly just piss games away. And Carrick comes out after the game and he says, we can't accept this. We have to find ways to stop it. Well, this has been happening for too long now, and there's no evidence to support the idea that this is even slightly being prevented. We're finding any sort of answer to stopping it. Something has to change because we're throwing away results. We are nowhere near where we should be. We're now outside the playoffs with a tough game coming up. And I just think this Boro team are sort of strolling their way to what could be a terribly underwhelming season, which could have serious consequences. This is a team who, if they'd not pissed away so many results, would be in the top 4. This is a team who, at their best, if they just managed games better and saw out results, would have so many more points and would have earned so many more great results that we would have absolutely deserved. But the way we continue to throw games away time and time again, as I say, it's dragged us into a playoff scrap that at this rate, we might completely blow up the wall if we're not careful. And if this team doesn't make playoffs, I mean, it's absolutely unacceptable. It really, really is. So I'm not going to be too dramatic and suggest that this or that needs to happen to Michael Carrick. But what I will say, 2.5 seasons in now, with arguably the best squad he's ever had, but these bad habits, these tendencies to just have a 10-minute spell of madness, the inability to manage games, see them out, play the game ugly, show the ugly side of the game. We just don't have it. And I don't see any side or any signs that it's going to improve. And what it's doing, it's making this Boro team a very difficult side to trust. And I think that's why the atmosphere at the home games has sort of fell off a cliff a little bit. It doesn't matter if this Boro team's 2 up, 3 up. There's just an anxiety around this team. Doesn't matter where we are, who we're playing, what the score is. We are just one bad mistake away from throwing away a result and chucking away all of our hard work. And now, a 3-goal lead doesn't even feel safe with this Boro team. I think that's why fans are finding it so hard to really get behind this team, really trust this team, trust the manager, because they keep finding ways of blowing that trust and blowing it up in our face with games like this. So we can only continue to hope that they will find a way to remedy this terrible habit of throwing games away. But it's been happening for so long now. We're halfway through the season. We've blown away a chance at top 4. And we're now outside the playoffs. And we might blow that if we're not careful. So it's unacceptable. It's inexcusable. And it's always... the worst thing is, it's really frustrating. Because in the first half, we saw exactly what a Michael Carrick team can be. We saw the best of a Michael Carrick Middlesbrough. But unfortunately, that comes with what we saw in the second half. And that's the worst of Michael Carrick's Middlesbrough. A team who concedes, a team who is just a shambolic mess at times defensively, who can throw games away in a flash. And it's just making Boro fans disconnect with this team, feel like they can't trust them. You don't know when a game is truly dead with this Boro team. And as I say, scoring 3 goals in 2 games and not winning either. It's absolutely criminal. It really, really is. So quickly, as I'm already at 27 minutes, I'll run through the performances. Sol Bryn, again, I don't think could have done much for the 3 goals he conceded. I feel really bad that he's dislocated his shoulder, and I pray that it's not a long-term injury. Really unlucky. It just was a freak incident from a really good save that he made in the end. I thought, again, centre-backs first half, outstanding, gave absolutely nothing to the opposition. Same with the fullbacks. I thought they did really well. Borges and Bergzorg had a great first half. But again, when targeted down the sides, second half, Boro are just so exposed. And the system or something has to change, because how many times now have we seen? I mean, what's that? 9 goals in 3 games against Leeds, Plymouth and Sheffield Wednesday, where we've been targeted down the sides. It continues to undo us. And again, there's no signs of it changing. It has to change, because we're leaking goals ridiculously due to that. Midfield, I thought, did well first half. I thought Hackney was back to his best. Barlas are very good too. But again, second half, they were part of just an absolute implosion in there. But it was always going to be difficult when down to 10 men. That has to be said. Attack was great first half as well. Azaz and Dork at their brilliant best. And whenever they are, Boro play even better. Bergzorg, as well, as I say, a fantastic threat down the left-hand side along with Borges. Tommy Conway, of course, went off early due to a hamstring injury. Emmanuel Latilath come on, worked really hard, I thought. Decision-making wasn't great, though. He could have squared it to Ben Doak at 3-0, which might have made it 4-0, and maybe it's a different game, but knowing this Boro side, we might have pissed up a 4-0 lead as well. So, you can't say that's a definitive moment in the game, because I wouldn't have put it past us conceding 4 goals, to be honest, from that point. But other subs that had to be made, Matt Clark come on, didn't have to do much. Tom Glover come on, obviously made a really bad error from the goal kick, which led to the corner for their equalising goal. I will say Isaiah Jones come on and did really well. I thought, again, his substitute cameo was really, really good in that final half an hour, both defensively and offensively. And we saw Lucas Engel for the first time, although he only had stoppage time, so didn't really have time to make an impact. And then we look at the league table, and a late win for Watford means Boro are outside of the playoffs. And this is why I say we could be sleepwalking towards a real problem here, because we've got 2 teams above us who've got games in hand. Now, West Brom have lost at Derby today, so that's lucky, because that's kept them behind us, and we could have dropped down to 8th. Watford are a point ahead. Blackburn, 2 points ahead. They've got a game in hand. So quite honestly, Boro could be 4 points adrift of the playoffs without noticing. And I think because they've got games in hand, we think things are all right. And yeah, they've still got to win their games in hand, but they're always going to have that game in hand unless Boro are in there alongside them or in front of them. That's why we need to be careful, because we're outside the playoffs, and quite honestly, with some of the positions this team's found itself in, the squad we've assembled, anything short of top 6 would be an unmitigated failure for this team. So we need to wake up. We need to wake up and get ourselves sorted, because the goals we've conceded at this point are absolutely criminal, and the points we've thrown away are just as sore. And we've lost a real chance because, as I say, Blackburn and Sunderland drew, so 2 teams above us took points off one another today. Sheffield United lost as well, not that we're competing with them either. But things have just tightened up a little bit above us, and we had a perfect opportunity to not only close the gap to them, but open up a 6-point gap to Sheffield Wednesday in 9th. But they remain right there behind us. We really have blown a real chance here today, and I don't know how many times this can continue to happen before questions are really asked. Is this going to keep happening until Boro fail to make the playoffs this season? Is that when things are finally going to be really, really questioned hard? I don't know, but these things keep happening. There's no sign of them being remedied, and they need to be sorted quickly, because Boro cannot continue to be pretty on the eye, but quite honestly, a really, really weak, soft-centred side who throw away games at the rate we do, because we're going to be sleepwalking into a 7th place position, which would be absolutely shocking. In all honesty, and it doesn't get any easier, because in a few days' time, we host Burnley. It doesn't feel like long since we played them last. A Burnley side who have just went to Sheffield United and 1-0. That's going to be tough. And if we were to lose to, home to Burnley, which is more than realistic, we might find ourselves 8th, 9th. I don't even know at this point, off the back of another poor home performance. Then the pressure piles on Carrick massively as we head into January. So I feel like Boro are in a position where we really need to wake ourselves up and sort ourselves out, because this is a really, really poor position we find ourselves in. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Your thoughts on this result, the positives you might take, how on earth we blew that game, and what you could possibly use as an explanation for it. Obviously, as I say, Sheffield Wednesday deserve immense credit, but in equal measure, Boro were absolutely awful in that 15-minute period. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you've enjoyed the video here on YouTube, do hit a like on the video and subscribe for more, and comment below with your thoughts. As always, I love hearing from you all. And if you're listening on the podcast provider, which you can do via the links in the description, then do give me a like, a rating over on your chosen podcast provider. But I'll be back pretty quickly, to be honest. We've got a 3-day turnaround, so I'll be back to preview the Burnley game. Obviously, there won't be much to preview because we only previewed them a few weeks ago, but they are seemingly picking up and maybe going up a gear or two, to be fair, at this moment in time. So, yeah, this is going to be such a tough game, and I will be back to preview it in the next day or two. But other than that, guys, typical Boro just keeps finding ways to be even more typical Boro, as we've blown a 3-goal lead. After a tremendous first half, we really did see the good, the bad, and the ugly of this Boro side. But until next time, guys, do take care. I'll see you all in the next one.